that you put that in right then. So I want to talk about something in Exodus, actually, in Moses, when Moses is kind of first brought up, not when he's in the basket. Oh my gosh, I got to tell you a little story about Aberlin first. So my firstborn daughter, the other day we was watching Prince of Egypt. Have you ever watched Prince of Egypt, the cartoon? It's really good. I mean, it's like the best biblical cartoon version. Anyway, and DreamWorks made it, I think, and it's so good, so well done. Patrick Stewart is the voice of Pharaoh, and it's so good. Anyway, at the very beginning, they have Moses. They put him in the basket, and so Aberlin, she's 2. And she's sitting there, and we was watching it. And she saw him because it's cartoon. She saw him put it, and she was sitting there. And all of a sudden, the way they do it pretty extreme. They kind of take some artistic licensure.
Sure.
And the basket's like going through the river, but then it's like
maybe I've seen
not
some
just
of that.
in the reeds,
Yeah.
but it like goes over, and then all of a sudden, there's like these big ships around it, and like it nearly gets knocked down by these big oars, and then all of a sudden the hippopotamuses like open their mouth and like crocodiles are like doing stuff, and it finally makes its way over to the princesses.
Hippos are so scary.
Oh yeah, they're terrifying. But she was sitting there, and I looked over at her, and she was going, "Baby," because like she takes care. It's so fascinating how different my boys are from my girls. Like, it's so wild. Like, she walks around with her baby doll, and she takes care of it, and she changes the diaper all the time on the baby doll. Like, she'll, time, and she'll just go and do it. It's amazing how that motherly instinct is in her, even at such a small age.
If you could get a boy to put a diaper on the baby, it would be the only one that went on the baby.
For sure.
Ever.
For sure. So,
at least the boys that I know.
Oh yeah, and my boys too. So
I was including all boys that I know and have met over the years.
So there's this. Oh man, it's such a cool. And I want to give Jordan Peterson props for bringing this up, not from a business standpoint. I'm going to talk about it from a business standpoint.
Okay.
But he brought it to my attention when I was listening to him talk about the interaction with Moses in the burning bush. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is early on.
Yeah.
So this is chapter 2, Exodus, and I'm just going to pull it up right here.
Okay.
And now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert. And he came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. Now, here's the wild thing. Next thing that happens, literally, if someone has a business, or let's say someone's trying to create viral videos or anything, like this right here, by itself, will like give them so much direction on what to do.
Okay.
And this right here is so epic. It's insanity.
I have no idea where you're going with this, by the way.
So, and the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush. Mm-hmm. So we've seen that story, the old Charles and Heston films, Ten Commandments. You've seen the burning bush. Most people are at least somewhat aware of Moses encountering a burning bush, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not burning up. So that's interesting. But that's not the interesting part. It's like this really boring line that's about to come. And Moses said, oh, hold on. And the angel, verse 2, and the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire, and in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush, and he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. Okay, now everybody focuses on all that. That's still not the point. And it says, and Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. Now here's the next line that is absolutely incredible. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Hanini, here I am.
Here I am.
Here I am. Here am I. Here I am. Now, what's so fascinating about this is God did not speak his name until he saw him turn aside. Mm-hmm. And so he put the flame of fire, a spectacle, something, a pattern interrupt that's going to get your attention.
It should.
And then he waited until Moses saw it and allowed it to disrupt his path. Mm-hmm. And so he allowed it to disrupt his path, and he then turned to it out of both curiosity, adventure, interest, whatever it is. And that's when the Lord called to him. And so often, I have a friend of mine that's in business, and he's been up and down in his, not up and down business-wise, his business is doing fantastic, but he's felt a little bit out of alignment, or at least perhaps out of alignment. Mm-hmm. So he keeps asking God to show him what he needs to do, just show him what he needs to do, just show him what he needs to do. and the thing is that happened was, he said, one of his friends told him recently, a man of God told him, listen, you got to make a decision to do something different than you're doing now before God speaks to you. And he said, because you can't always wait for God to drop out of the sky and to give you tablets, stone tablets.
Sign me up for a stone tablet.
Right? The stone tablets would be great, but it usually don't work that way. And I was just thinking about this. See, Moses didn't get the stone tablets for a long time before. Like, this was the first kind of encounter. Mm-hmm. And he just, it's just a thing in a distance that catches his attention.
Yeah.
And then he turns aside. And the turning of the side, which almost is really the same definition of repentance. Like, repentance is a turning into a different direction, going a different way. And I just think it's really fascinating, because I will now turn aside and see this great sight. So he goes out of his way to go do this different thing than what his mission was at the moment, to keep the sheep going on. Mm-hmm. And I think that's fascinating, because when we're looking at businesses and we're doing our thing, whatever it is, we have a pattern that we go through, and a pattern every day. His was being a shepherd. He has a pattern. And we may be unsatisfied. We may be stagnant. We may be frustrated. We may not be hearing what we want to hear. We may not be getting the feedback we want to get feedback on. And then something will catch our attention. Mm-hmm. And we don't really have control always of what captures our attention. Like, it just, like, you're just going about our day, and that thing's happening over there. Mm-hmm. And so it almost possesses our attention, our eyes, and we turn. And then we have to make that decision. When we look, we have to make a decision. Are we going to do the thing? There's been so many people like, I have a coaching program around food, mm-hmm. and I'm business partners with a guy, and the number of people that have messaged us and told us on our 5-day challenge, oh my goodness, like, I prayed for this last week.
Right.
And then immediately saw your ad.
Right.
And do you know the number of people that prayed for that same thing, saw the ad, and then didn't turn aside from what they were doing to move into the ad? And so I had told my business partner for years, do you understand that there's people out there that are praying for you and what you're called for? Like, they're praying for a solution. They're praying for it. And your ad can be the attention.
Yep.
The flame of fire. And I'm not trying to compare a business to God by any stretch of imagination, but you either respond to a stimulus, especially one that's related to your calling or related to that which you're praying for, that which you're praying for direction around, and then you see, and you fall back. Like, people just fall back, and they're like, I'm just going to stay in the status quo, and they don't actually move. One of the reasons I respect you so much is you have regularly, and for those of you that don't know, Zach will be like, regularly he'll ask me this question. I'll be like, oh, there's a great idea. Here it is. Look at it. Ah! And he'll be like, I love it. It's wonderful. Let me ask you a question before we talk about it more. This is what he'll say. He'll say, is this what God called you to do? It's a fantastic question. Like, it's a phenomenal question. And it always is like, don't ask me that. I'm excited right now. But it's like, but that don't mean I wouldn't be excited. The question, it's a good question. It's a wonderful question. Because what it does is it forces you to re-hierarchically organize what has grabbed your attention. Because there's lots of things that can grab your attention. So the question is, how do you sort out which one to turn aside towards?
I would say plenty of dangerous things grab your attention.
100%.
And if you don't have that check, if you don't have something
100%
for that, you're likely going to fall into some kind of sin pretty quickly.
Oh, easy. And most of the things. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say most of the things, especially if you think about in the lustful environment, are very attention grabbing.
100%.
Especially for men, because
of course.
Well, kind of how we operate.
I was thinking I've been thinking about this a whole lot in the book of James, chapter 2. So James starts out, and
James is one of my favorite books.
James is intense.
James is a crash course into Christianity in 5 short chapters.
And a lot of people really they miss a lot of what he's talking about. But
5 short chapters, you change your life.
There you go. If I can find it, it's after Hebrews, isn't it?
There it is. I'm not that guy, but probably.
All right. So here's a fascinating thing. The first chapter is like, listen, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And there's going to be all kinds of trials and temptations and course corrections and all this kind of stuff. And when you fall into temptation, when you do all this, when all this stuff happens to you and befalls you, pray for wisdom. And guess what? God will give it to you. He'll give it to you really good, right? But you can't be double-minded about it. You got to listen for it and you got to do it. You can't just like, stay on the sidelines, dilly-daddling.
Nice.
Right? Exactly. And so, this is in chapter 1, because then he says, for the sun is no sooner risen with a burning heat, but it withereth the grass, and the flower thereof falleth, and the grace of the fashion of it perisheth. So also the rich man fade away in his ways. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. Now, so then you're thinking, okay, the Lord's tempted me here. The Lord's tempted me. Well, he's expecting you to think that. So then he says, let no man say that he is tempted. I am tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man with evil. And then here is by far the coolest, like, both marketing example and simultaneously understanding how you're tempted by sin in general, how you're tempted in any way, even good or bad in a sense, is the way I see this. Because he says, but every man is tempted. How is he tempted? When he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed, which presupposes something that culture today does not believe. Today, culture believes that people are inherently good and society makes them bad based on their circumstances. But what the Bible says is, nope, deep down in that heart, the part of you that all of culture has told you to follow all the days of your life. I was watching The Sandlot last night with my boys, and they loved it, and it was a great movie.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
They drop a little bit more in there than I remember when I was a kid. Because we watched it a couple of years ago with Jake, and I was like, where did that come from? I don't remember that crap being in there.
Well, and that's the thing, because it's so subtle. But I was listening, Babe Ruth shows up to one of the main guys in a dream.
Yeah.
And he comes out of the closet in the dream, and he's like all spirit being looking. And the last thing he tells him, he says, follow your heart. You'll never go wrong. And he says it, and then he says it again. I look over the boys. I was like, is that true? They're like, no, you don't follow your heart, because I talk to them about that all the time.
Right.
It's the hardest, most deceitful thing above all things, desperately wicked, who can know it? Jeremiah. But this right here shows this. Now, this is wild, okay? Because let no man say when he's tempted, I am tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away. It's like a fish seeing a bait and instinctually going towards it. He doesn't consider whether or not it's a real worm or a real cricket.
Exactly.
He just instinctually sees the movement and pounces. Right? If a fish can pounce.
I suppose it could.
And it says, but here's the wild part. He's drawn away of his own lust and enticed, which presupposes that is in there.
Oh, yeah.
And the only thing that actually tempts you is that which is already inside you, desiring of that evil thing. And so you could, as you've stated many times, there's no one-sided piece of bread.
There sure isn't.
Which means there's also good things that you have and desire.
Course.
And so the good things that you desire then would also capture your attention, but also the bad things that you desire will capture your attention.
I saw a very fascinating clip. I don't remember where I saw it. Probably on YouTube. And there was a guy talking about sins and the temptation. Basically, those. What's your propensity for, right? Because different people have a propensity for different sins. And what he said was, wherever you're drawn with your sin is actually where you're drawn for your calling for God. He said, because the inverse of where you're going, like there's always a sinful side of those temptations, but God has a blessed side of those temptations, and there's this gift there, but because you're gifted in it, it's what Satan uses to tempt you, because it's one of your stronger abilities, but there's a dark side to that ability, and so that's where he attacks you. And I was like, that's crazy. And so he went through these different things. I mean, the one I remember, he basically said people that damage their lungs with smoke and different things like that are meant to speak, right? And so you're physically harming yourself and taking away that ability was one of the examples. But he went through 5 or 6 different quick examples.
And so, really and that is very fascinating. And he goes, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust. So the lust that's inside him. And then he's enticed. Then, now this is the awful part. Here's the awful part. But then when lust hath conceived. Now, and that's sexual language.
Oh, yeah.
In the sense that how do you use conceived? It's when the sperm meets the egg, and then that combination then produces a physical outcome.
Something new.
Something new that didn't exist prior, but then shows up in the real world. And so the lust hath conceived, and this is so fascinating because people get caught up in James about works versus faith. Is it faith alone? Is it faith and works? People's always fighting about James versus Romans, Paul versus James. It's a big deal that people's always fighting about. Even Martin Luther apparently had a lot of trouble with James because he had tried to do working salvation for so long. When he finally understood the law of grace, that it's without works, faith without works, man is justified. Then when he comes to James, and James is like, it ain't by faith alone. It's, I'll show you my faith by my works. And they're not actually talking about two different things, but the focus is different. Its focus is on, like, listen, you can't just have this empty, intellectual, heady knowledge of God. The demons believe and tremble also.
Exactly.
But they don't actually have a working faith and trust. And I would argue they don't even have the promise to do so, even if they wanted to. But they don't want to, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
So, but this is the part that is so powerful and absolutely petrifying. Because when lust has conceived, so that means this inside of you attaches to something on the outside of you, and then it brings forth this action that didn't exist without the stimulus and the response of that stimulus. Or reaction of that stimulus, I should say. Then, when lust is conceived, it bringeth forth sin. Now, sin is a Greek word, hamartia. Hamartia it's like the same word in like 3 or 4 different languages. And it literally is an archery term that means to miss the mark, to miss the target. And so, it bringeth forth missing your target. Mm-hmm. Which means that anything you think is good because of your feet, because it just feels good, right? That's contrary to the Word of God. It's like, well, I'm not going to do it at all because I don't care, because it's my life. I can do it with whatever I want, however I want to do it, right?
You sure can.
Yeah, you sure can. But then here's what's going to happen. You're going to miss your target. You're going to miss all the targets that you hit. And you're not going to be able to hit them. And you're definitely not going to hit the target that you're purposed for in life as ordained by God. And it says, and then when that sin is finished, when it's all grown up, bringeth forth death. When the sin is all grown up, when it becomes an adult, what's it do? It brings forth death, which presupposes that if that attention thing in Moses' situation is a thing that's directing you to life, which causes you to turn and to repent and to go a different direction than you had been going, then guess what that means? That actually means that it's going to lead to life. And so attention can lead you to life, or it leads you to death. And as a business, particularly a Christian business owner, it is absolutely critical that your products and services are actually leading people to life. And so people think of business, okay, I'm going to do some business stuff, and then I'll come to church and tithe, and it's separate enterprises. It is business over here, and I just got to do what I got to do to make it through this life. And then it's Christianity over here on Sunday and in my household and all these things. And you can't separate it like that. Because
you can't.
In order to have a business, you have to grab attention. There's no ifs, ands, buts about that. You have to have eyeballs on your business. People have to know that you solve a certain problem. Now, here's the deal. If you are solving their problem with something evil, with something that's drawing their attention away from that which their calling is, then you're actually working in almost a satanic pathway, because you're trying to get their attention off of the Lord. And so every single time a business owner is pulling the Lord out, they don't put Bible verses on their walls because they're afraid it's upset their clients or they'll leave clients behind. You know, I wear, when I pitch sometimes, I almost always have some kind of Christian hat on. For 2 reasons. Number one, because I see myself with the video back, and I want to be reminded that I'm being judged of God. So I don't want to use any persuasion techniques that are unsavory. And yeah, that's a good way to say it. And that are manipulative rather than service oriented.
Yeah.
And at the same time, though, because that struggle's always there, right? Because your income can be dependent upon the offer and the way you pitch it and the way you position it. And then at the same time, though, what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure the strongholds that they have in their mind is not keeping them from doing the thing that they ought be doing. But at the same time, you ought not be building strongholds to get them to do an action that's not good for them, but good for you, or seemingly good for you. Of course, it couldn't be good for you, because then you're using it in a way that is contrary to the Word of God. But the point I'm making here is, and then I'll shut up for a few minutes.
Maybe.
Is that if a business owner, we work with Christian business owners, like they should be integrating and twisting into everything that they do, the Lord and His words, and so that they can meditate on the law of the Lord, because that way their leaf won't wither, Psalms 1, right? And whatsoever they doeth shall prosper, because they're meditating in the law of the Lord. And the thing is most people, most Christians, me, many times in my life, and still happens, meditate in that which is not that.
It's easy to do.
Meditate not in the law of the Lord. And so the reason why I love the study of attention, I have a course right now that I'm teaching about persuasion techniques and attention. And then while I'm sitting here and I'm talking about it, I'm talking about all these different situations and how people are manipulated and how people like reach into their pocket and they have no idea why they're doing it. They think it's because of them and their ideas, but it was because of different mechanisms in the brain that was puppeteered, stringed,
For sure.
Puppeteer strings and pulled by a marionette. Marionette is actually the puppet, right? And then the person that does it is the puppeteer. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I have to watch Pinocchio again.
I'm not versed in
puppetry.
Puppetry. So,
but going back to this Exodus passage, I'm gonna challenge any audience member that's watching or that will watch.
Challenge you.
And challenge myself.
No, challenge you. Never mind. Disregard.
I'm gonna challenge you.
There you go.
There you go.
There it is.
There it is. I'm gonna challenge you out there right now, and Zach and myself in general, that when something catches our attention that is around and near what we've been praying about, it might be a sign that you need to turn aside to see this great sight.
Indeed.
And then you'll know if you hear the voice of the Lord, right? My sheep hear my voice. So if you turn aside, because that's when God speaks. In this passage, anyway.
For sure.
He speaks after the turning of aside.
I have a counter to it, though. So, but continue.
On the turning to the side, he's going to try to just break down everything that I just laid out.
No, I'm
we'll
not breaking.
see.
No, I'm not breaking everything down.
We're gonna.
This is a word of caution because it was. So, our worship pastor in Florida, we would do. They called it Presence Night. We would go. And it was just a worship night. They usually did it once a month. And he stopped in the middle of it, and he said, oftentimes Christians get in the habit of asking God for what they should be doing. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Show me, show me, show me, show me. Right? We all want to know what's next. And he said, God kind of tapped me on the shoulder not that long ago and said, continue doing what I already told you. And when the time comes, I'll bring you the next thing. And so I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Of course.
Right? Absolutely pray for what's next. But if God just gave you a word, don't go looking for the next one if you haven't wrapped up all the loose ends.
Well,
and so, but because we live in social media, short form, microwave society, we expect that it's always something new. It's always something new. What's next? What's next? And so that I just wanted to caution.
No, I love that. That's a great caution.
There's this balance of.
And so I would agree with you. And I would say it's not even a counter to this, but in fact, it's a deeper understanding of this because if you back up, he wasn't sitting in a corner by himself asking God what to do. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and he came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. So he was actually doing a thing.
Mm-hmm.
He had led it all the way to the backside, probably trying to get the best, most nutritious
spot for the
flock, right? So he's like doing, so it would actually expand what you just said because so many people are looking for something different instead of working with what God has given them because I can't remember which book this is in. It's in the New Testament. It says, I think it might be Philippians, but whatever you're doing, do it.
With all your heart.
With all your heart, as if doing it for the Lord. And he's talking about even a servant to his master in that context. So whatever it is, if you're not jiving with it, in the moment, do it with all your heart.
Yep.
Until God decides, if God decides that your service needs to be added elsewhere, which actually piggybacks off of the assumption of the parable of the talents. So Jesus tells a story, for those in the audience that don't know, tells a story of the parable of the talents. There's a master, and the master has servants. And the master is very wealthy, and he gives one of his servants 1 talent, another one 2, and another one 5.
Yes.
And
those are gold. That's gold.
That,
by the
yeah.
way.
Like,
just for clarification.
Yeah, talent is...
Because I actually did not know that when I first came to God and to Christ. And so the talent in my head was just
your talent.
It was your talent.
Which actually is really fascinating, because I think it's not a strong stretch to say that it's a metaphor for either.
I don't disagree, but I think...
But it is important that it's money.
I think there's a lot of importance to know.
It is. I completely agree.
That the whole thing is based on, here's some money, go make more with this money that I gave you.
Yeah.
Don't just sit on it and do nothing.
That's right. Which presupposes that you don't just sit on what God's given you to steward.
Exactly.
To your point. Right? You don't just sit on it.
The talent that he's given you, the skills and ability... But the money part's not wrong either.
Exactly. Not at all. Like, whatever position because what he's explaining is how the kingdom of God functions.
Yep.
And most people think of the kingdom of God as only heaven in the sky, a place in the sky.
Arrive,
a place to arrive.
Destination.
Exactly. And that's not true. That's just not what the kingdom of God is. The kingdom of God can exist within a destination, within multiple different domains, both spiritual and physical. But what a kingdom is the king's domain, the one in which he's in charge of and operates.
I would say everything that's physical is spiritual.
I would say that...
Not everything that's spiritual is physical, though.
I agree with that.
Right.
I agree
but everything that's physical has a spiritual aspect to it. Because it has to. Because words are spiritual. Language is spiritual.
Well, words and spiritual is, but I don't know if I'd call a rock spiritual. I don't know.
There's no word for it. It does not exist. And God made it. So it's spiritual in my book.
I see what I'd really have to really think about that. The only reason I have a resistance to it is because of Gnosticism, and I have an issue with Gnosticism.
I don't know what that is.
So Gnosticism is a...
Teach me, oh wise one.
Gnosticism is a kind of it was commandeering early Christianity, trying to. So you see like the Gospel of Thomas, some of these extra biblical New Testament books that are not New Testament. And then, of course, there's all these YouTube channels and all these things that are being like, look what they took out of the Bible. They've got the Gospel of Judas and the Gospel of Peter and the Gospel of Mary and the Gospel of Thomas and all these. Well, it's actually really easy to find that those are actual forgeries. And how we know that, actually, one of the easiest ways, I can't remember the professional fancy term for it, but it's actually figuring out names. This is so fascinating. I'll get back to what we were talking about.
Yeah, okay.
But because that's fascinating.
Yeah,
so this is fascinating. You're going to find this so fascinating. You're going to love this. So I was just teaching a class at church on all this, about where we get the Bible, where the translations come from, how can we trust it, can we not, what's translations are best, all these kinds of stuff. And by the way, if anybody would like actually some breakdown videos of that, put it in the comment, because I would like to know whether some other types of content that to go on this channel that's not necessarily just your podcast. But in addition to that, I was looking at this and I was listening, and Wes Huff is a great resource for people as well. And I was listening to him, and he was talking about how that even today, there's names that are very common. Mm-hmm. Now, Rollin's not a very common name, so I'm an outlier.
Mine was during the 80s. So.
Right, during the 80s, Zach was pretty common.
It was very common.
Right. I remember the Black Power Ranger was Zach, and there was a lot of Zachs. And Saved by the Bell, the lead character in Saved by the Bell was Zach.
I want to say that there were in my graduating class in high school, obviously it's a little bit bigger than yours, but I think there was 5 of us.
Yeah. See, so the point is there's a fascinating thing on how they figure out forgeries of any ancient historical text. Mm-hmm. And it's based on names.
Okay.
So what they do is
One of the ways.
Oh, there's lots of ways.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
One of the ways is they go into tombs, and so in Judaism, one of the things they would do is they would have family tombs. Mm-hmm. So like when they lay the body of Jesus in Joseph of Arimathea's tomb, well, they lay it there. And what are they going to just lay it there and leave it there forever? No, the idea, now he resurrected, so they didn't have to do this, but typically when someone would pass away, they would go put it there, they would wrap them up, and they'd set them there, and they'd leave them there until they disintegrated, and the only thing was their bones left. Then they would create these things called a bone box, and they would have this box, and then they would pick up all the bones and put them in the box, close it up, inscribe the name of the person on the box, and slide it in a hole of a wall of the tomb. And then that way, all the family could use that same tomb over time as it grew. Otherwise, they'd just be like there's
stacking
no spaces.
bodies.
Yeah. And so that's
stacking bones.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how they organized it.
Got it.
Well, they uncover all the different bone boxes in that area at that time. Mm-hmm. And that gives them a way to know one of the ways that give them to know what the most common names were in that area at that time. Okay, they do this with other ways too, in outside writings that are in the same different types of writings, whether it be historical, whether it be apocalyptic, whether it be narrative, it doesn't really matter. Even like records of tax records. Yeah. They're based on names. Yeah. And so they can go by geography and find out what are popular names of the time. And they can do percentage-based stats on how common this name shows up. Well, the 4 Gospels, the 3 Synoptic Gospels, and the 4 Gospels that are present in the New Testament get the percentages right in their names every time. Gotcha. And that's usually why they have to have all these qualifiers. Yeah. Like Simon the Zealot, Simon called Peter.
Right.
And so as you go, James, the son of Alphaeus, and John, his brother. Because there's lots of Johns, there's lots of Judases, there's lots of these different names, so they have to have qualifiers. And so they see that the percentages and the qualifiers work exactly right. Now, in something like the Gospel of Thomas and these other random Gospels that they find and dig up, they do that same comparison.
And they don't line up.
And it don't line up. There'll be a few of the names that are from the other Gospels, and these wildly different names that wasn't popular until like 200, 300, 400 years later. Gotcha. In a completely different geographic area. And so it's very easy to see, because like if we were suddenly to like try to fake an old Gospel, if we could, like we would not, like if we were trying to invent characters, we would not know the types of names to invent the characters.
Right.
But the people around us, it would spread it around thinking it was real, right? Because
it would be names that they were accustomed to.
Exactly. And so it's really fascinating. And so, was you going to say something?
I was just going to ask for you to tell me whatever the Arian, whatever.
The Gnostic.
Gnosticism. Gnosticism.
Yeah. So they actually believe.
You have to tell me what it is, because you hadn't got there yet.
Yeah, so the gospel, I got there because of the Gospel of Thomas is a Gnostic gospel. And what Gnosticism was, it was a growing movement that was really mixed up with a lot of Greek thought and things. And what happened was they believed that the physical body was actually evil. And that the God that created the physical world was actually the evil God. And that what Satan was actually the good God. And this is tied into Satanism. And he was actually helping them free themselves with knowledge. And the way you unlock this physical prison is to get enough knowledge. Gnosis means knowledge. Okay. And so if you have enough knowledge, secret knowledge, that only your higher ups can tell you. And as long as you get initiated, then it's a secret society type mentality.
Gotcha.
And it's very drawing. It's like, what does it really mean? And so they'll have these very esoteric type statements that are like the only way you can understand it is by getting close to the cult leader, and then he will let you. He will let you in on the secrets. And so then it makes the people feel like they've really arrived and learned something. So it really is a cult drawing idea. Secrets in general are that. And when they're used by very narcissistic individuals, that's very manipulative and things, then that actually is what creates cults. That's the reason why one of the things I always do in all my coaching programs is like, whatever, no matter how different this makes you from your family, if you're eating differently or if you think you're smarter or anything like that, don't forsake your family. Keep your relationships intact. Just don't run away. Like, don't isolate yourself. You need that checks and balances from other people in your area, not just one little clique of a bubble.
Yep.
That's just not what you need. No one needs that.
Right.
And so you got to have those checks and balances. And so Gnosticism was something that was really growing. And so they saw that Christianity was growing like wild. And so they said, wait a minute, we're going to piggyback on this. And we're going to take some of the sayings from some of these gospels, write them out, and then write different stories around them and use some of these external characters and make them the special one, and elevate them, and then tie their philosophy to that individual that don't have a lot about them because we don't know that much about Thomas in the Gospels. We know that he's the one that said, "My Lord, my God." We know that he doubted. We don't know much more about Thomas in that arena. So the Gospel of Thomas is like 20-something sayings. It's not really a gospel. It's not a story. It's just saying. But it's crazy stuff. Anyway, and it's stuff, some of it is like mixed up with things that is said in the gospel, so then people that don't believe or believe that the Bible was somehow misused and are into Gnostic type ideas, which still exist today in the forms of Satanism, New Ageism, all kinds of stuff like that, is like, the Spirit is really the only real thing, and all the physical stuff is like bad, and you need to just, it's all about the Spirit. And so the Gnostics didn't even believe that Jesus had a physical body, and that he was kind of just pretending to be crucified and floating there as a spirit, and he never had a physical body, because they couldn't say that he had a physical body, because if they did, then they would be claiming that was a good thing.
Right.
And so Jesus was then just this incarnated being, or this spirit, ethereal, spiritual, almost incarnated, but not, showing people, giving them secret wisdom that he passed on to his special disciples that happened to be the one that was written about in the Gnostic Gospel. So I say all that
because I said rocks are spiritual.
And so I don't know that I would disagree exactly, because when we look in Genesis, we see that God created humans. And this is into Christian ideas too, because they think heaven is just a place you go spiritually. What'd I say?
You said he created heaven. I was
heaven and earth. And
I was saying he created everything.
Everything.
That was my basis. That was my basis for.
And I would
everything is spiritual.
I would tentatively agree 100%. Like I know that God,
especially because I don't know anything
rocks.
Other than what you just told me. I didn't know anything about that other stuff. I mean, I've seen the books of Enoch and those things, and blah blah blah. There's all these missing books from the Bible,
and I hope that wasn't boring to people, but it was. I'm sometimes, because I've been so many times in my life, like I used to say this thing all the time, and it's so wrong.
You used to say this thing all the time?
What I'm about to say.
Oh, okay.
I used to say this thing that I'm about to say all the time.
Okay.
You're not a physical being having a spiritual experience. You're a spiritual being having a physical experience, and that's not true. We are actually always built as spirits with bodies. Like, there's not a time in which it is normal for a human to be disembodied from their spirit.
Right.
It's actually, God made Adam and breathed into Adam's body the breath of life, and then man became a living soul. So we were always both flesh and body. And in the new heavens and the new earth, we get a resurrected and glorified body. And so heaven is not this bunch of spirits floating around on clouds,
right,
ethereally. It's actually meant to be physical, and that's the reason why the bodily resurrection of Jesus
was so important.
Because this body right here. Now, it's not going to be exactly the same. It's going to be resurrected and perfected in the resurrection. And that's the only reason I say because everything is spiritual, because that idea is so present. I agree with it, actually, but I'm careful at the way I phrase it.
Sure.
Because of that. Because I don't want to infer, because that's what I did infer that.
Yes.
I got into Gnostic teachings when I kind of got into New Age years ago for a little while, and I didn't go into it thinking it was the New Age. I actually got into it with business principles.
Yeah.
Right? And that was the promise. And then as you went, it got into like the mind and the subconscious mind, which then led you into what is the subconscious mind? Well, it's the mind that's not the same thing as the brain. And then if it's not the same thing as the brain, then it's this thing that exists external of that. And then how do you know, and then it just gets deeper and deeper into the doctrines of demons.
So if you don't know, Rollin is always looking for secrets. It's his favorite thing to do.
Looking for secrets?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
You're looking for new knowledge, for secrets, for stuff that...
True.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
not a bad thing.
I
was making the reference as the reason that you went into that is you were seeking a secret formula, and I'm using secret on purpose because that's the favorite word of the cults.
That is the favorite word of the cults.
Right. Sure. But you were seeking knowledge to improve yourself.
Yeah.
And you improve your business and yourself.
Because I believe one of the things that makes me angry about the masses is the people that complain about themselves being overweight, or complain about financial situations, or complain about this, that, or the other thing. It's okay for them to complain. Mm-hmm. If they're actively pursuing doing something different to cause it to happen, or they're actively pursuing God in the process of it happening. Mm-hmm. What I cannot stand is people getting together, talking about how fat they are and how they don't fit into any clothes, and they get frustrated about it, and then they go to McDonald's and eat on their way home from the shopping trip. That makes me angry. Not because I care whether they eat McDonald's or not. I don't care. I only care insofar as it takes them off their path, the path that they are ordained to go on. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I'm throwing stones at them for their appetites. I'm throwing stones at them for being unwilling to repent of anything and to just sit in it and stew in it, and then look at other people and complain about how easy it is for other people. And that could be true, or that might not be true, but it don't matter, because it ain't going to affect you unless you do something about it. Maybe it's easy for them and maybe it's hard for you. Tough luck. Okay, maybe it's unfair. Okay, I don't care if it's unfair. It doesn't help you at all to talk about how unfair it is. What it helps is if you do something about it.
No word for fair.
There's no word for fair.
It's one of my favorite.
It's like the thing, you're tall and very athletic, and I'm short. I'm fairly athletic.
And less athletic than me.
And less athletic than you. And there's nothing I don't care if they go and I let them break my legs and make me taller and stretch my shin bones so they grow together and make me be able to be as tall as you. If they did that, my muscles would probably break, because you're quite a bit taller than me.
A bit.
And I would be like some kind of weird monster lanky arm thing. Like, it doesn't work. Because you're
making fun of me how long my arms are now?
You do have long arms.
I do.
But your muscles are built for long arms. Uh-huh. If I suddenly had long bones attached to my short little muscles, we'd have some I'd be like Rookie of the Year, man. I'd probably make it. I don't know if you ever remember the movie Rookie of the Year, where his tendon gets stretched so far. Yeah. I'd probably make it in some kind of baseball tournament, because my tendons would be stretched so tight. I'm going to say that
you
ever like that word taut? I like that word taut. Tight like a tiger.
Well,
I don't know. Do you ever remember the...
technically, tight is not the description for tension. It's taut.
Yeah, I know. And you ever watched Austin Powers?
Of course.
Gold member.
Of course.
He's taut like the gold member. Taut like a tiger.
So there's another
That's a
problem.
keeper.
There's another problem with what you're looking to do.
Okay.
Right? And I think it plays into
Problem what I'm looking to do. What am I looking to do?
to make yourself taller.
I'm not actually looking
No,
for that.
but let's indulge the idea.
Yeah.
And let's take it a step further and say
Yeah.
your muscles would stretch with you. Let's say that.
Let's say it.
Guess what? I don't know if you know this, but when kids go through puberty and grow really fast, they get real clumsy all of a sudden. Why? Because they've grown so much, their body hasn't figured out where things are landing.
That's right.
And so you would spend probably a good year figuring out how to work the new body. And so you would have to do the work. You would have to go through this painful season. Look, I'm taller, but I hit my head on all kinds of stuff because I'm not used to having to duck. I'm tripping on things because all of those things would happen.
Yep.
Right? And so you don't, it's easy for somebody. Maybe you didn't, the problem is you didn't see it when it was hard.
That part.
That's the real issue. And we rarely avoid the challenges. Rarely. Right? You might get through it a little bit faster than somebody else. Maybe. Right? It's probably a pain tolerance thing more than anything else. Right? Why does somebody get through something faster?
Well, and some people are stronger than other people. Some people are smarter than other people. Some people think faster.
Naturally,
I remember,
yes.
It's so fascinating because people tell me I'm smart a lot. But like in school, that was not my experience. In school, the teacher would like ask a question, and the smart kids, or at least the way I saw them, hand would go up before I even processed the freaking question. Their hand would shoot up in the air. And I'm like, how do you even know what was just asked? Now, what I found out later is that they were really good at regurgitating what they had learned. So they could process that fast. They could process way faster than me, but they never actually processed it with any depth. And so they didn't understand the deeper. So when I process very deep.
No.
But slower than most. So I do process slower than a lot of other people do. And then when I speak, it seems like I'm processing really quickly. And that's because I've done all the processing in the background. And then suddenly I've put it all together, and now I can speak really fast and I can talk really fast, and it seems like I can really move really fast. And I can, but it's only because I went so deep on so many different avenues or verticals, you might say. And then I got better. But I was dumb in high school. You
felt dumb in high school.
I took an aptitude test, and you know what it told me I should be when I grow up? A janitor. It told me I should be a janitor.
Those things are so stupid.
I was like, ain't no way. I have no offense over janitors, but like when you're a 12th grader in high school, it's like that's not like anyone's set out like I can't wait to be a high school janitor.
Right.
You know? Nothing wrong with it by any stretch of imagination. Yeah. In fact, I have way more respect for any janitor, period, than someone that wouldn't do that because it would be beneath them, and so instead
they do nothing.
Yeah. Like, I get that, and I get that it might be painful, and I get that it would be embarrassing. Gosh, the amount of times, you know how embarrassing it was when I closed down my restaurants? Because everyone thought I closed them down because it failed. Everyone thought that, and that drove me nuts. I hated it. Because my pride can be my downfall. And so I don't know if you remember, but before we founded this business, I said, if I ever start getting prideful, you better check me, because I have this tendency to like feel like I'm brilliant. And every time I do, every single time I've ever beat my chest in my mind.
Challenge accepted, as you know.
Uh-huh. But like, that's the thing, like you have to know, because, and guess what God hates? Prideful heart. God hates. That's strong language. He hates a prideful heart.
Well, I always think I ask you the question.
It's the thing, man. It's so...
It's way easier to check you on a regular basis than it is to wait until it's really bad, just so you know.
Oh, true story.
That's why I asked the question. This is what God wants you to do.
What God wants you to
Because I'd rather nip it in the bud early.
Well, the thing happens is when you're, if you, it's so fascinating. It's like, I've done pitches where like I sell just one or two things, to a decent sized audience. And then another one I pitch, and I can feel bad and terrible. Like, man, I just really let everyone down, everyone on the team down, everything like that. And then next time I can do a webinar or something, and I might sell, 30% of the room, and then like immediately I'm like, yeah,
look at me.
It's like, and every time I have to be like, dumb. It might not be anything that you did. In fact, I've heard preachers say this a lot of times, that when they feel like the sermon was the worst, it's when people will come up to them telling them how much they got out of it, and when they think that they did the best,
nobody says
anything. And it is a check on them, or at least the one that was talking to me about it years ago. He said it's a check to make sure that that it's not you.
Yeah, nothing to do with you.
And that's the part, right? It's not, whether someone buys or don't buy. I mean, it matters in your skill level, but at the same time, if God desires it to happen, it's going to happen. And if he don't desire it to happen, it ain't going to happen.
Don't care who you are.
And if it ain't the right people in the audience that's for that, and the people, it's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. And you have to accept that. You have to accept God's hierarchical arrangement of value, and not yours.
Yeah.
And we really like to eat of the tree of knowledge, good and evil. Like, we like to reorganize God's value structures all the time. Every day.
It's easy.
Oh my gosh.
It's easy to do.
Whatever you elevate in the highest places, you're God.
Yeah.
You do that all the time.
So let's jump back to the McDonald's issue and people complaining and not doing better. Because Laura and I had a very interesting discussion. She brought something up, and what she brought up was principles. There's principles, right, that exist. For example, if you put yourself in a calorie deficit, you'll lose weight.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. And I think there's somebody that did a Twinkie diet. They just ate Twinkies. That was all they ate was Twinkies, and they still lost weight.
You can do that.
Right? So
calorie deficit.
Calorie deficit, it works. But if somebody, so obviously there's tons of different ways to achieve that.
Yes.
Right? The principle is solid. Yep. This is not unchanging.
No.
But
there's a lot of variability in the
way
process.
to arrive at that,
for sure,
there's hundreds of ways, thousands of ways to arrive at that and achieve that. So what we were discussing is who and how it's presented to you to achieve that could cause you to reject the principle, when in fact all you're doing is rejecting the vehicle to arrive at that principle.
Correct.
Right? And so, but what then happens, and it causes people lots of issues, myself included, Laura and I included, is you reject the principle. And so then when people talk about the principle, no matter what the vehicle after that, you reject it without hearing about it, even though a different vehicle would get you to that destination.
Yeah.
Right? And it happens all over the place.
Are you talking about with the agency stuff in general?
No. We were talking about.
That's fascinating, because when we were on the phone, this is before y'all moved to Tennessee, we were on the phone, and I was mentioning some agency stuff, and y'all had a bunch of bad experiences with agency stuff. And y'all were like, I don't want to do agency stuff.
Right.
Like, and you were just like,
no, that's not what we were talking about. No,
right, but that's fascinating, because that's what it reminded me of.
No, we were talking about calorie deficit,
Yep.
and we were talking about budgeting. That's what we were talking about, right? Because so one of the first ways that we heard about budgeting was through Dave Ramsey.
Yep.
Well, I didn't appreciate
some of his stances,
some of his delivery, right, and some of his stances. And one of the big ones for us was eat ramen noodles. Well, cool story, bro. Laura's gluten-free, and I'm not eating trash
Yeah.
to balance my budget,
Yeah.
right? So there's a give and take. There has to be a give and take. That doesn't mean that budgeting isn't a necessity and it doesn't work.
Of course.
But then you end up rejecting the entire principle
Yep.
because of that delivery.
Exactly.
Right. And so we were talking about it with that. We were talking about it with calorie deficit, right? Because I didn't reject calorie deficit, but I rejected calorie deficit to some degree, right? It's not that it doesn't work. And I achieve it differently than most people.
Yeah.
Right.
We have a really hot metabolism.
I have a high metabolism. I have higher muscle mass. Like there's
the muscle mass is what I would call metabolism because cellular uptake on everything is going to be
correct.
Insanely.
So my lay around and do nothing resting metabolic rate is like 2,200 calories a day or something.
Yeah.
Something
probably more than that.
I think that's what it is. If because I've done a scan, it's right around that.
Gotcha.
Well, I'm cheating, right? I'm already a net positive 200 on just what they tell you to do. And that would be me lay in bed all day, do nothing. Right? So if I walk, if I do 2 pull-ups and anything else, have my brain work, I'm probably more like 2,600 calories in a day.
Then if you do any kind of real activity,
then
you're like way past 3,000.
As soon as Laura knows this because I'll be not exactly where I want to be, and I started going to jiu-jitsu. 2 weeks, I lost like 8 pounds. And she's like, how? I'm like, are you kidding me? I sweat a half a gallon of sweat just being there. And so it's instant. And so it's very frustrating to people.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, I also did a lot of work when I was young, right? And so it carries, right? That momentum carries through.
Does.
And so it's not that I've never done the work. It's not that I've never did any of those things. It's just different. But the principle is still the same. No matter, like it doesn't erase the principle.
It does not.
And so it was just a very fascinating thought that's depending on how it's delivered to you, you may reject the principle that could save you from the thing that you're struggling with.
100%. Go ahead.
It was a fantastic aha for us.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure I share it so that people,
I'm glad you did.
So that somebody else who has been presented something that is not optimal for them, right? That might suck. And the one that I always think of is, people, one of the big things, just eat less. Well, that's a really bad setup. You're going to fail. Eating less is all willpower based. You're going to fail because you're going to be in a bad situation and you're going to be starving and your body's going to take over and get you to do something.
100%.
And there's plenty of example of that, same with budgeting and stuff like that.
Of course.
All those things.
Well,
So,
and
anyways.
Well, the way I look at this is, often, because this is actually where that aha is the same aha I had that made me, when I teach about the problem switch instead of an opportunity switch, that's the underlying core aha that I had, or at least very similar, because I realized that when someone tries something, let's say they're trying
Jenny Craig.
Okay, Jenny Craig.
I don't know.
I was going to say...
I was staying to the weight loss thing because it was top of mind.
Let's stick with the weight loss thing. Let's stick with the weight loss thing. Let's say they try, they get a gym membership.
Sure.
Okay. And they're doing the gym and they're doing the thing. Okay. And then it doesn't they don't actually have the discipline to go. Or maybe they get a new job and they can't go.
Or they go. You could even go, but go ahead. I don't know what your example is, so I'm not going to interject.
What I mean by that is they don't stick to it.
Sure.
For whatever reason, right? Maybe it's because they got an injury. Maybe it's because they got a new job. Maybe it's because they're a single mom and they simply can't afford to pay for the gym fee and babysitter at the same time. Whatever the reason is, that then puts a block. Okay, that doesn't work for me. Okay, for me. Now, this is an identity-based thing, and I'm going to get to something really deep and probably controversial here in just a second. But if people can sit and hear it, no matter who you are, it'll literally change your life. So I'm so glad you brought this up, Zach. So when you see that vehicle, like the only way, but the desire to get toned and lose weight is still there, present in that person. That doesn't go away. That's present. But their belief system has shifted to believe I can't exercise.
Doesn't work for me.
It doesn't work for me. I can't exercise. That won't work for me. Okay. So then for any other exercise routine type company, whether it be trainer, whether it be Billy Blank's Tybo, or 21-day
P90X.
fitness, P90X, 75 hard, whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is. If they see that, immediately the desire is going to be there, and then almost coming right behind it is the emotion, and then the logical justification for why it can't work for them.
Right.
And so the language from a marketing standpoint has to speak to that first in order to circumvent that stronghold that was built. You could call it like a stronghold.
Oh, it's for sure a stronghold.
Because it was built up, and now there's a wall. There's a wall that won't allow the processing to further.
Yeah.
Because, see, the brain says, I've already spent resources on that avenue.
And it sucked and it didn't work.
And it didn't work. We have to maintain our energy reserves and not go out of budget on energy resources. And so that's going to take a lot of processing. That's going to take a lot of effort. And we already spent that effort, and it came back to nothing. Did not work. So that was a bad investment. And then it builds a neural pathway with lots of emotions of failure, rejection.
Lots of pain.
Lots of pain associated with that, linked to that experience. So the only way to circumvent that, and this is the reason why I'm so passionate about people that are called to certain
arenas
to really, really understand language and how that their words and their stories and how psychology works. Specifically, I call it swayology, right? Follow meology.
Yep.
Why? Because what they need to do is they must, if they want to do what's best for the client and for their business, then what they have to do is they have to understand that pain objectively, where that person can only understand that pain subjectively. They exist so much in it, they can't stand up above it and reanalyze the landscape. And so they can't properly judge for themselves. And so what you got to do as a person really versed in communication is you have to then know what that felt like and then communicate what that felt like and then remove the burden that is the block and communicate how the thing they were trying to solve isn't really the problem in the first place.
Right.
And that's why it didn't work. So if we can take the blame off of them, and that investment, the reason why the investment was bad is because it was a bad brokerage, so to speak. And if you come over here in this domain, it's like the reason why real estate didn't work for you in the past because you were doing single-family homes. Single-family homes have all these uptake and all this kind of stuff, but what you didn't realize is apartment complexes don't have all that because you can have a single one manager to manage them all.
Yep.
At the same time, this, that, and the other thing. Or Airbnb is different because they have cleaners that will come up for you and they'll schedule all that for you. Whatever it is, but it wasn't that real estate, the principle, was messed up.
Right.
It was that the way you were attacking it was not the avenue that was best for your situation. And so that's the reason why something like P90, people will have had a gym membership. They find themselves not going, so they find it a bad situation. But P90X is on video inside the comfort of their home. So then the language of the infomercial will always say, and you can do this in the comfort of your home for less than 15 minutes a day, and you will see results.
Right.
And it will happen as well as 2 weeks. And you can fit it into your own schedule. So no matter whether you've got babysitters or don't, you can do it with your kids on the floor. Look at Sandy. Sandy here actually does it with her young child, and that allows her young child now, and I'm pushing it further past into thinking past the cell, where now, and then future pacing it, and then now that little girl is now going to grow up with the habit that you're having to develop now. And so she'll grow up with that habit, right? And then tell your story where I built all that in the past. That's why I can eat more now. And then all that links together. And it's like, oh, okay, now there's that full path. That's not what I used before. That future paces the person into the new one. And that serves them better than not doing anything. Now, whether that vehicle is right for them or not, that's the reason why with an industry like losing weight, you have to come up with something so attention grabbing that it
for sure
redirects all that belief that exists. So go ahead.
Well, the other thing is that will capture a particular segment of the market, but it still works for another segment 100%. That had a different experience.
Of course.
And so then, in theory, what you ought do as you go down the path, right? You're gonna get a hook in the water that's working. Then you need another hook in the water.
That part.
Right? Because there's going to be only so many people that this hook and this bait and all these things over here reach, and you're not gonna change that. And so instead of optimizing this to nauseum, right, and looking for the extra 2% on whatever in that particular hook, what you probably should do, if it were me, is get a new bait and a new hook, and then get that one close to doing what the other one's doing, and then get another one. Get as many out there of those as you can, because guess what? You can't run the same type of lead in to your business to a single mom as you can to a father of 5. The language and the problem is different.
That's right. The desire is the same.
The desire is the same.
But the problem is different.
But their resistance is different, and their objections are different, and all the things are different. And so if you don't think that they're different, and you think that the one thing is going to work, and it's not going to, right? You don't do the same things when you're out hunting hogs as you do when you're hunting deer or when you're hunting turkey, right? That's different. If I'm fishing for crappie, I'm not doing the same thing that I'm doing when I'm fishing for walleye or bass. You can't. It doesn't work.
Sometimes you get lucky and you snag one, but most of the time.
The only thing that works is the real base general thing. But then you mostly get bluegill.
That's right.
Right? Because what can everybody catch a fish with? A bobber and a worm.
That's right.
It works for all of them.
It works for all of them.
But your percentage of bluegill is going to be higher than anything else. Right? And they're real bony and not good for eating. So if you want something else, if you want some walleye, you're probably going to have to change stuff. You could change the approach, all of it.
Well, that's what we do.
I know.
In our marketing. That's what we do for businesses. And business owners don't understand that
happens.
Oh my gosh, no. I'm sure certain of them does.
Of course they do.
We just bolt on new hooks and income sources.
Sure.
I'm like, here, can we bring you a bunch more money for your business?
Right. You're already doing the thing.
Yeah.
Let me just slap this thing over here. You already have all the stuff for it. Yeah. It just needs different language, different tweak, and there you go.
Yeah, and it will rain like a hurricane.
Right. And even if it's not raining like a hurricane, even if it isn't, and you're filling up another bucket,
you got another bucket.
you got a whole nother bucket. Then you have two.
There's a whole nother cow there that
Right,
you're milking.
you're- right,
got
you're-
milk in it.
you're-
It might not give you 3 gallons a day, but if it gives you 1, it's 1 more gallon than you had before. It costs you nothing more.
Exactly. And you're gonna get to, if the goal is 100 gallons, gonna get there faster. You need the other thing. You need those other things.
You know, that reminds me of something that I remember Russell said years ago. He said I think it was his mentor told him that. But anyway, he himself would tell all of his people that hadn't been to the 2 Comma Club yet, that don't ever build a second funnel until you get the first funnel to $1 million. And I think a lot of people believe that means that you can't do what we're talking about here. Because within the way to get a funnel to $1 million is by having one product and one core product service and then reaching them in a multitude of different ways.
Exactly.
Sending into that.
Right. You have one front door.
One front door to get into your business that's fairly easy to get to, ready to buy, but multiple different hooks and offers that get them to that door.
Yep. You have to.
You have to.
Well, you don't have to, and I would start with dialing one in, right?
Of course.
Not.
Well, that's the reason why we have a stipulation on people we work with. They have to already have business working.
Yeah.
They already have to have something, because that's a whole nother animal. Finding that one thing that works is a whole nother animal.
Yeah.
And I do that rarely because I've done it many times, and it's very, very difficult.
Well, I mean, for us, I would say we might as well just do it ourselves.
Well,
And that's not me. Look at me, we're great. But the effort to get it to work
is so high.
Is very high, right? And it's just not. You're not going to want to pay us enough to do it.
No, you know the number of people that have wanted me to do things for them, and they want me to build their webinar. They want me to write all their emails. They want me to teach them to speak and to give it.
Yeah.
They want to know how to make the viral reels, and me to give them all the writing, all the stuff to do it. And then if they could, they would love if I would just do it, and then they could put their AI face on top of my body, you know?
Exactly.
Like, they would love that. And there's going to be companies that promise that like crazy.
I'm sure there's companies that do it already.
They probably already do. But it's not going to be real, and it's not going to really work because they're not them, and they're supposed to be serving a person, a real person with real problems. Yeah. It's not just saying whatever you can say to get them to buy.
Right.
That's what a lot of salespeople do. It's what a lot of online people do. But that's not what my goal is, because I don't think I'll be serving the person. Like, our whole thing is that I believe that God ordains business owners to be business owners to serve groups of people.
Yes.
And it's not the only thing he does. It's not the only people he ordains to do things.
No, definitely
But the
not.
way the other ordinations work is when he ordains someone to be a preacher, they need to be focusing on that. When someone's sent to be a missionary, they need to be focused on that, and they need resources to do that.
Yep. They sure do. They sure do.
So going back to the parable of the talents, which we started.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't
start
finish,
that.
but this is a good tie-up for it. The parable of the talents, as I said an hour and a half ago.
It wasn't that long ago, but
Jesus says, this is the way the kingdom of God works. He says, there's a master. He's got a lot of money. He gives whole bunch of it to one dude. 1 talent, it's a measurement of the money. And the second guy he gives 2. Third guy gives 5. Then he goes off on a trip, does thing. What's he doing? It's not important to the story. He's doing king stuff, master stuff, whatever that is. Whatever he wants.
Other business stuff.
Other business stuff. We don't know. He's off doing it.
Probably going securing some deals.
The first guy, actually I said it backwards. The first guy gets 5, the second guy gets 2, the third guy gets 1. And the first guy goes and he takes that 5 and he invests it and he trades and he does all this commerce and he comes back and he's got 10. The guy with 2 does the same thing, doubles it to 4. And then the last guy is afraid of losing it. And so he buries it in the ground. And he knows that if it's buried in the ground, then it's so safe that there's no way that the master can be mad at him because he still has his 1 talent. He has supervised it well. Oh, man. This reminds me of a Proverbs I'm going to go to here in a second. Remind me to go to it because it will rip your nipples off.
I'm going to pass. But I'll remind you of the Proverbs.
Okay.
I'll pass on the other part.
Just guard while I read it.
No guarding needed.
He said, but in this parable, if this is real, Laura, cut that out. Nah, I don't care. But if the master comes back and the first guy's like, look, I doubled your stuff. And he's like, well, good and faithful servant. You're awesome. Paraphrasing, of course. You're awesome. You know what? You've done so well with this amount. I got all this other stuff over here. I need some good manager to manage that stuff. I'm going to hook you up with that. I'm going to hook you up because you can handle all that. And, of course, he's excited. Enter into the joy of thy master. Okay. Next guy. Look, master. He said, oh, man, you've been faithful over a few things. This is great. Listen, you know what? I got some other stuff over here. I'm going to give you more to manage because you were faithful with that. Last one. Oh, man. This whole parable always just cuts me to the quick. It really does when you really think about it. And you're at the things you've been given, the things you've done with them, how you've not treated them as if they were gods. The last guy just buries it in the ground. Lets entropy take over. And he's like, here's your talent, master. And he's not just upset with him. He calls him something. He says, well, why didn't you go and double it? Like, well, why is this the same? Like, well, you didn't do anything with it. And he's like, well, I was afraid. Now, this is the word he uses. I was afraid. I was fearful because I know that you reap where you do not sow. And I was afraid that if I did that and then I lost it, you'd be mad at me. So I did it out of fear. And he corrects him. He doesn't say, well, you should be more courageous. He didn't say that. He calls him a wicked and slothful servant. He doesn't buy into his fear.
Right.
He says, you wicked and slothful servant. And then he says something about the kingdom of God. He takes that talent away. And he gives it to one that has 10. And he says, for anyone that has, more will be given. And anyone who has not, even that which he has will be taken away. Now, you can think about the business and money, spiritual matters, in all kinds of different ways. You can take that parable and apply it in a multitude of different ways. The point is the principle, that underlying principle, is the same. Is this your stuff? And are you lazy? And pretending that your laziness is fear. Because if you think like this, there is a proverb. Man, it's so heavy. In Proverbs, and I'll find it out here in a minute when you're talking, but it says, when there's someone that's lazy, this is what they say. Oh, there's a lion in the streets. If I go out there, I might get hurt and die. So that sounds pretty reasonable, right? Like I'm doing the safe thing here.
Stay inside.
Stay inside. But Proverbs says that's how you know it's a lazy man. It's a lazy person. If they're using fear as the excuse for not going somewhere or doing something. Now, the Proverbs also says that a wise man foreseeth evil and hideth himself from it. And the foolish pass on and are punished. So it can't just be saying that fear blanketly, when there's something that's evil or something that's scary, should never be analyzed. But, because there's real warnings, like for example, I often think of...
But should you fear evil?
It didn't say fear. It said foreseeth evil and hideth himself.
Correct. No, but so what I was pointing out is it's specifically referencing you're scared of the lion. You're fearful of the lion.
Correct.
Right? And the talents is the fear, right? Fear is not caution, right?
That's true.
And
fear and caution are not the same thing.
And awareness of something, right? So
that's really good to think about. Caution and fear there is a distinction.
Yeah.
And a differentiation between caution and fear. Now, we often inflate them as the same, and it's not the same.
No, it can't be, right? You can do something that, there's possibility of something bad happening. But if you're cautious while you're doing it, you're probably going to be okay.
So this is fascinating,
right?
I want to go ahead and finish your statement.
So
yeah.
I'll use an easy example for me. Let's say you're going to change brakes on your car. And I'm using this example because I probably need to. But there is a possibility during that process, and you're under your car, that your car could fall off a jack and fall and kill you. That possibility exists.
Yes.
So should I fear it and not do it, or should I just be cautious while I do it, right? And add precautions, preconceived things to help prevent.
Put a block under it as well. Once
Exactly.
It's jacked up.
Right.
Yeah.
What do I usually do? I usually take the tire, flip it over, and set it underneath the wheel well. And so if it does fall, it'll fall on that. Probably not me, right? But if I'm fearful of it, then I won't do it. I'll never do the thing because I'm scared of the outcome that's a possibility.
So I'm sitting here looking at this, thinking about that. It's such a good story, by the way. It's really good. But I'm sitting here, I think that fear is emotion motivated and caution is wisdom motivated. So when you're actually preparing something and you're cautious with it, you're actually using critical thinking to bolster other possibilities that can happen. And fear is just a pure reaction.
Exactly.
Rather than a response to potential danger.
A premeditated response.
Yeah. So caution is a premeditated, careful response. Mm-hmm. And fear is a reactionary action.
Exactly. And that's what I believe is the difference.
I think so too.
In those two statements in Proverbs. Because
and if you're not aware that you're operating, if you excuse your actions that they're cautious, but really they're fearful, then ultimately you're lazy.
Mm-hmm. And for me, caution gives me the courage to do the thing, right?
Of course.
You might not be reckless while you're doing something, right? There's people that can be more reckless in doing something that should have a little bit of caution in it, right? And so they might not have the fear of the result necessarily. So, for example, I hate electricity. I hate getting shocked by electricity. Despise it.
You love it.
I do not. Not at all. It is one of the worst feelings for me, and it just makes me cringe. So for me, I can change lights. I have no problem working on electrical systems,
But
I am extra cautious. So my example is my grandfather would flip a light switch off and change an overhead light. Ooh. This dude right here is never going to do that. I'll probably turn the light off and the breaker off. That's what and I have my little pen that I touch to the wire, and it tells me if it's still hot or not.
That's right.
Because I don't want anything to do with it.
And there's and some of these old houses are wired weird.
Well, exactly. And the possibility of death is there.
It really is.
And even if it isn't, I despise the feeling.
Well, and here's the deal.
And so
fear doesn't have to be terrible. Fear can promote caution, but you can't stay in the fear to alleviate yourself from the caution.
But it shouldn't promote inaction.
It shouldn't promote inaction. That's exactly right. That's
really what the talent is talking about.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing that always, when that parable comes up, the thing that I always think of, that always comes to my mind, is God gave you a skill and a talent, right? Something that is unique to you, and if you bury it, he's going to take it.
That part.
And that's the thing that always gets me.
That's the part, because
right?
he's going to give it to someone else that will.
Right.
Oh.
Right? And to circle back to your Moses thing, how many other people walked by the bush?
Yeah.
Right? How many other people had the talent and out of fear of the unknown of what the heck is going on over there, just avoided it?
That's right.
And so that's the thing that always gets me with that is, okay, what has God put in me? What should I be doing? Is there uncomfortability in it? And I think the other thing that's kind of an unspoken part of it, and maybe it's just me inferring it, is I don't know if the master would have been upset if he lost it.
No, I don't think so.
Right. I don't think he would have been.
Not one either.
I don't think he would have been upset if he came back with less, but did the thing. You know what I mean?
I completely agree.
Now he might not have given him more responsibility.
Well, you know, it's fascinating because if you think about
it, but he wouldn't have thrown him out for gnashing of teeth either.
Exactly.
Right? I'm pretty sure that's what it says at the end, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Right? Like, so
that's
okay. You weren't quite up to the task yet. So let's get you some more training. I'm not going to give you more, but we're going to keep working at this thing.
That's the relationship with that your business, your relationship with that younger kid that's interning.
Right.
Right. Like you wanted to keep paying him, but then he was causing clients to quit paying.
Yeah, it's just you were not to the level yet, and that's okay.
But because he showed up, because he did the work, because he tried, you didn't want to cast him into outer darkness.
No, I don't. Right? Because it's different. That's
so fascinating.
Because their commitment and mindset is different. The results are what they are. Right? I mean, if the guy's is reaping where he isn't sowing and doing all these things, if he's that prominent of a business guy, we all know not all deals yield money. They don't all yield profit.
No.
It just this is not how it works.
That's the way it works.
Right? But they yield lessons. And so I firmly believe had the dude gone and done something, he could have come back with 0. Hey, I went out. This is what I did. This dude stole it from me or whatever. Not even stole it. Ended up being a bad deal. The field caught on fire. It didn't work.
Yep.
Oh, all right, cool. Glad you did something.
Well, that's the thing. I listened to an interview actually the other day on Allie Beth Stuckey, Jeremy Boring, the former CEO of Daily Wire. And, you know, Daily Wire had a fiasco. Anyway, they kind of had all falling out and stuff. And I don't know all the details, but he said it was like the lowest point of his career by far because he had built this big, beautiful thing. And then he had to leave it. Yeah. And it was like, oh, man, and then everybody's asking, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? And he's like, I don't know. And then he talked about how that he realized God kind of told him, you're going to keep doing what you've always been doing. You're going to keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. And he said, time for us to wrap up.
You got 8 minutes.
Oh, well, this is easy. And he was talking about how that when you're a CEO, he said, everybody wants to be CEO. It's like the hardest job ever. He said, because I was always in a glass office, so everybody could see me all the time. That way they knew I was working on things and doing things, that's just like to inspire everyone, And he said, and 99% of the people come up to you with ideas. He was like, Ben would come up to me with ideas, like 100 ideas a day, nearly. And he's like, and he bats higher than most, so like 50% of his ideas are good ideas. He's like, but I'll probably have to say no to all of them because we can't launch one new big idea every day.
Right.
Even if we wanted to. Even if it was a great idea, you just can't.
Right.
He said, and so your job as CEO is to make good decisions. Your responsibility as CEO is to make decisions, whether good or bad. And often, a bad decision is better than no decision because it moves to the next thing. It causes the company to continue, even if it's a bad decision. And I thought that was pretty interesting to think about.
Tell me yes or tell me no. Tell me now, I gotta go. The forever maybe is horrible.
Forever maybe is terrible.
Forever maybe is horrible.
Yeah. Because really forever maybe is no clothed in a potential yes.
Right.
It's a no right now.
Yeah.
It's a no right now. It's
right.
a no right now, but maybe one day kind of could be in the future.
Right, but it's way easier if someone says, nope, that price is too much. I can't do that. Great.
Exactly.
Have a nice day. I'll let you know if we have something of lower choice at another point in time.
100%.
Not likely.
Of lower choice.
Right. Of lower choice at another time. It's not likely. So I hope you find what you're looking for. You might want to go over here.
I think I'm going to start using that instead of saying lower price, saying lower choice. That's better. Because it's like, worse quality. It's like nobody wants worse quality, right? Okay.
I mean, for most part.
So I got to read these 2 lion verses because there's 2 of them.
Okay.
And they're like just a few chapters.
Two lion verses?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Lion. Lion. Okay. So this is Proverbs chapter 22, verse 13. The slothful man saith, there's a lion outside. I shall be slain in the streets. What? That's the proverb.
Take a sword with you? I don't know. It's a very confusing one. It's not confusing. The response, I understand. My response would never be that. It'd be, okay, well, what do we need? We need a sling. We need a sword, or
how do we solve this?
I need a stake to lure it away so I can get to where I need to go?
And then the next one. So the first one is chapter 22, verse 13. The next one is chapter 26, verse 13.
Okay.
And it says, the slothful man saith, There's a lion in the way. A lion is in the streets. As the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful
in their bed
upon his bed. The slothful, this one's pretty powerful. The slothful hideth his hand in his bosom. It grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. I was like, man, I don't want to have to go fix dinner. You know, it was
when I read that one, so in my translation, I think it says in his dish. So the food is there, and you're so lazy that you can't even pick it up and put it in your mouth. Yeah. Just wild.
I think about it in a dish as well. And I think about, like, when you sit there and you're like, I kind of want more drink, for example. I really don't want to get up off the couch right now. I've done that before.
Do you know what? I actually do that with my coffee on purpose. Because I'm prone to drink a lot of coffee. I'm prone to drink a lot of any beverage, right? It doesn't matter what it is. So I actually, because if I have a coffee maker and I make a pot of coffee and it's easy, I'll make 2 pots of coffee a day and drink both pots without fail. And so what I do is I hand grind my coffee, and it's in a French press that I only get 2 cups out of.
You know, I tell clients,
I have to boil water. I have to grind coffee. I have to clean the French press to get another 2 cups. And I purposely do it because if not, I'll drink 10 cups in a day instead of 4.
It's the microwave tendency.
It is.
Right. Because everybody, you know, and I talk about this a lot in multiple different types of my coaching, whether it's business coaching, whether it's sociology coaching, whether it's psychology coaching, whether it be health coaching, but in the different coaching domains that I'm in and the clients that I have, I'm always telling, and this is even most potent in like more health-centered things, is how can you add friction to a bad decision?
Yep.
And how can you reduce friction for a good behavior?
Yep.
That is like, if you can do that, if you can intellectually design a system, and what I mean by system, design a lifestyle that reduces friction of good behavior and
increases friction.
Increases friction for bad behavior.
Yep.
Then you're going to every year have a better year than you did if you didn't have those systems in place.
Yep. So it's generally related. So I don't remember where I read it somewhere. I think it was in a book. I couldn't tell you which one for sure. But essentially what they said was if you want to be more productive in your life, the best things you can do is set your future self up to win.
Yeah.
What do they mean by that? So if you know the next day that you're going to have a cup of coffee first thing in the morning, don't leave everything to be done first thing in the morning. Prep the things. If you know that you need to get dressed for work and so you can make it out the door on time, don't make those decisions in the morning. Get your clothing out the night before and set your future self up. Take care of your future self. If you do that, now you don't have to make the decisions. Everything's already there. It's already laid out. All you have to do is put it on. And so the more things that you can pre-prepare for yourself, the smoother your day can be and the more productive you'll be.
And the more you'll be able to focus on
the tasks at hand.
Because you'll have more cognitive energy.
Yeah, because
you have a bigger budget to work with
you're
every day.
Pre-decided. This is what I'm wearing.
There's a reason why people like Mark Zuckerberg and all other kinds of people only wear one color shirt all the time, which is jeans. Like, they don't change their wardrobe often because it's more decisions that they have to make in the morning. That's right.
There's no need.
And I'll say this because I thought I was going to slam my hand on the table and say that's fascinating, but I'm going to tell this quick story.
Okay. And then I got to go.
So I was in a coaching call with this lady one time, and she was like, man, and she was very emotional about this because she had called and she had told us that on the coaching call, she had told us that, she had prayed and the Lord had brought her to the coaching and she was losing all this weight. But then there's this thing that was always derailing her, and it was some kind of nuts or something that she was snacking on. It's so high calorie, and it was just throwing everything out.
Yeah.
And she said, but before she had come to that, she was like, I thank y'all so much for being here, and she had wrote down the prayer that she had been praying before she encountered us, and she read it to us, and it was really touching. And she was, if my memory serves me correct, at the time she was, she had tears and all these things was happening. It was a very beautiful moment. She was like, but I just can't keep myself from doing this. My husband loves these things, so I don't want to have to throw them away, and I don't want to. He don't have a problem with this, so I don't want to. And I said, well, this is simple. I said, here's what you're going to do. Pick one cabinet and put all those easy, convenient, snacky foods that is derailing you. Take them and put them in that particular cabinet, and then take that prayer.
Put it on the cabinet.
Not on the after you open it, put it on top of the shelf, and that means that to get to it, you have to lift up the prayer and disregard it, and reach and grab. Okay, and then she comes back
and
next
then when you
week,
put it back, you have to go do the same thing.
That's right. And so now what I did is I helped her reorient her value structures in that moment, because what was happening is that attention. This will wrap up the attention day. That attention, it looks so good, I want it right now. And the larger why, as they would say, or the larger reason, the higher value got pushed down out of mind because this superseded in highest place. And so all I was doing is causing her friction to get to that and to have to decide whether or not, actually with her cognitive thinking, which is more valuable, the answer to that prayer or this nice shiny object right here. And so she had to open the thing, and she came back a few weeks later and was like, it is not a problem for me. And then another lady had a problem, and she wasn't super spiritual or godly. She ended up getting saved later on, but she heard that story and was like, well, I'm going to make it as hard for me as possible. So in the wintertime, she went and put it in her trunk of her car. So she had to go out. So she said, guess what? I never snack on nuts no more.
Right.
Because the friction is greater.
Yep.
And so hack for life in all areas.
Oh, yeah.
If you increase the friction of bad behavior, decrease the friction for good behavior, you will set yourself up for doing more good behaviors than bad in that domain. At least you will sway yourself in that way.
Yep. It's fascinating.
That's fascinating.